old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between. Welcome back to another week of Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jesse Ellie. Hey! Oh! It's that lit this week in the studio. Yo, I told you what happens sometimes, girl. You just can't even control it. And that's because we have an amazing pro female wrestler in the studio. Somebody who got the 2021 Wrestler of the Year, is a heavyweight champion with Chaotic Wrestling. Welcome to the show, Davienne, aka Not America's Sweetheart. What's poppin'?
Hi, how are you?
That was crazy, right?
That was
like,
wild.
just be prepared. But
I thought you had it, and then it was like,
no. It was like, nah, girl, not today.
Out.
Like, you tried, but not today. But cheers to that. Let me cheers you. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming. She's a busy lady. She travels around. She does a lot of wrestling matches, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, back and forth in between. But I'll let you tell the people kind of where you came from and who you are.
Yeah. So I originally grew up in Rutland, Massachusetts. Tiny town.
Rutland, if you don't know.
Tiny town.
Yep.
And I've just always been a fan of professional wrestling since I was like 11.
Is that like a family thing? Because I feel like wrestling as a female to pick that up so young.
It was like my brother was a big fan, and we're only 20 months apart. So yeah, so it was him. And then he stopped being a fan, and I just continued. Like it was just a disease. And so I've never been like a conventional person. I wasn't like, I want to like work in an office and work a 9 to 5. I was like, I want to be a pro wrestler. So I graduated high school early, and then just started working full time so I could pay for a car and pay for training. And then like 3 days after I turned 18, like that was it. That's what I was doing.
Wow.
So yeah.
So you made that decision young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what in your mind, so you, like you said, you've never been traditional or conventional. Yep. And like, I think I can relate on that aspect. Like I was an old soul. Like there was just something always different. Like I didn't want to do 9 to 5. I knew I had a different purpose. But when you're so young, it's like, how do I get to that purpose? Like, how do I make it happen? Were you self-taught? Did you just decide to start like jumping off shit and you're like, I can
pretty much, can do that? Like me and my brother would we would take our karate belts and tie them around the room to make like ropes.
Oh my gosh.
And then that eventually, like the trampoline, always on the trampoline. And that turned into our parents literally buying us a wrestling ring for Christmas one year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So the parents are in support of it. They're like, you got,
yeah.
That's dope.
And that we were like, the kids with the wrestling ring, like at school, like, they have a wrestling ring. And we had a barn. I was gonna say
Rutland is like all farmland.
It's all farm. Yeah.
Like I told you, my cousin, shout out Nikki, like she's from there. She has a whole horse farm.
Yeah. We had a barn, and my mom wanted horses, and like it had been years since the barn was built, and there were still no horses. And then we were like, well, me and my brother
were trying
to save for a wrestling ring ourselves. Like we had like pennies. Like
how much is that? Like I don't even know. Thousands?
I want to say it was like 5,000. Like yeah. And so we were trying to save for it ourselves, and our parents were like, oh, this is cute. And so they just got us one for Christmas. Hey. And it was like, okay. We set it up in the cold, and we were out there in our little like snow jackets and stuff, like throwing each other around.
That's what it takes, like that dedication. Yeah. If you want to do it, like you got to make that shit happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we would just play. We had like this book that it was like the basics of pro wrestling and like how to give like basic moves and stuff.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have been doing it. Like, my mom was like, we should buy us these giant life-size stuffed animals so we wouldn't hurt each other. We could do like the dangerous stuff on the animals.
Love that. Smart mom.
Yeah. She'd be like, oh my God, please don't hit each other.
So I have to ask, were there broken bones? Were there,
actually, no. I know.
You guys, you did it right.
Yeah. We never broke anything. We broke lights in the barn.
Shit.
My mom
maybe some boards over each other.
Yeah, so we would do like the hardcore matches in a barn. It was like basically our garage. Right, so it has like a bunch of stuff in there. So we'd do like the hardcore matches. We did a ladder match one time, and we hung up like a fake replica belt from the rafters.
Oh,
and then we went up, and that's how we broke the light. And it was just shattered all over us, like in the ring. And my mother was like, "What happened?" And we're like,
"You're like, this is the future, Mom. Get ready."
And then she's like, no more of that. No more ladders in the ring." And we're like, "Okay."
Oh my God. And, you know, at that time in your, like, wrestling career in your mind, were you guys already, like, making up, like, situations and characters and names? Or was it more...
We would kind of just, like, copy what was on TV.
Yeah.
And then just take, like, what our favorite wrestlers did and then just did it.
And who was your favorite wrestlers?
My favorite wrestlers were Randy Orton and John Cena.
Hey. Yeah. Classic.
So I loved them, and then like Trish Stratus was my favorite girl. And that was my brother, the love of my brother's life was Trish Stratus. As soon as she stopped wrestling, he stopped watching. He was like, "There's no point.
That's it. His motivation was gone."
Yeah, he was like, "Nope, this is it for me."
You're like, "I want to be the next one." So I'm gonna keep
exactly. So I just kept watching, and I was just like, just hooked on it. So it was like what I always talked about. My teachers in high school would be like, "Can you like try in class?" It's like I got good grades, but like my high school, they did like different levels of classes. So there was there's like the dumb kids class, and then there was like the average everybody class, and then there was honors for like people who care, and then there was like AP for people who are trying to take college courses in high school. And I was just like, let me just do the regular classes. And they're like, "You're getting A's. Like, why can't you do an honors?" And I was like, "Because I don't want to do more homework." Like, I'm not like,
I got time to put into my wrestling. I have other things to do.
Exactly.
So.
I was like, I don't want to go to college. Like, this is not for me. And like, they just didn't know what to do with me. So like, my teacher was just like, just let her do her thing. Whatever. She does the test and she gets good grades. Like, don't try and like force her to do anything, because they like didn't understand how to deal with a kid who was like not gonna follow what they thought everybody should do. Like, so I was just, I begged my guidance counselor. I was like, "Let me do summer school so I don't have to come here my senior year." And they were like, "You can't do that. Like, there's no reason to put you in summer school." And I was like, "But I don't want to come for my senior year. Like, I want to be done." And they're like, "No, you have to at least come to January." And I was like, "Oh, fine." So I just did that. And I graduated half year. So I was just like,
so they made like a little bit of
like all I had to do, so the option was always there to graduate half year, but you just needed one English class. That was the only credit that was required for 4 years. So I was like, when I was graduating half year, I took 2 different kinds of English classes to get that whole 4th year. And I was like, why can't I just take 2 English classes over the summer? Like, I'll just get it done. And they were like, "You can't. You're not failing." And I was like, "No, I just don't want to come. I don't want to come here."
Yeah. And that's the thing too, kind of about the education system. It's like, we're all different. Like, I feel like being an artist and being in school was difficult for me. Like, I remember being in like, what was it? It was a history class, and I was writing, I'm a spoken word poet, so I was writing poetry in my notebook, and I remember my teacher literally yelling at me. He's like, "Jessie, like, put that away. Like, what are you doodling? Like, you this, that." I'm like, I am literally doing like my craft. I'm like, are you yelling at me for writing right now? So it's like, in your defense, it's like you had other more important things in your mind, like being an artist or being like an athlete or just having another journey. It's like, sometimes school just like is not the path.
It's not the path for everybody. You know? Like, it's really not. And people can be successful without it. It's like, you know, I was still trying to get my diploma. I was just trying to get it early. So like, just let me do what I want. Like, exactly. Literally, just let me get my diploma and go on my way. I'm not trying to like drop out or be a bum. Like, you know, I'm just trying to create my own path and get there. She was just making her own lane. And that's like the only thing that any of us can try to do, like make our own lane that fits in with our journey, what we feel inside. You know what I'm saying? We're not all supposed to be like a cog in the machine or just like go along like a sheep. You know what I'm saying? We have purposes. And you took a hold of your purpose and you did something a little bit different. And you actually went to, let me shout them out, New England Pro Wrestling Academy. That's fire. I did.
When did you do that? How did you find out about New England Pro Wrestling Academy? Like, give us a lowdown.
My sister had gone to high school with a guy by the name of Ken Doan, and he made it to WWE. He was signed. And he, I don't know, grew up like 20 minutes from me. Yeah. And so the town that I grew up in, like, did an article in the newspaper on our local newspaper, like, oh, you know, success of somebody who grew up here. And it said he trained at the Killer Kowalski School of Pro Wrestling. And I was like 14 at the time. So you can start training for wrestling at 15. But my mom was like, I'm not driving you all the way out there. Right. Like all these times a week. Like you just got to wait. So I waited until I turned 18 and I could do it myself.
Wow, so you were dreaming like since 14 to 18 about going to that school? Yeah.
So
damn.
Yeah, I just followed the school. I was like, if this guy trained here and he made it, like I'm just going to train where he is. And then I was working at a gym, and this guy who went to my gym was like, oh, one of my buddies is a pro wrestler. You should reach out to him. And so I reached out to him. And he was like, oh, you can train at this school. Reach out to this person. So I reached out, and they never wrote me back. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to school I wanted to go to begin with.
Right.
And thank God I did, because the school that it closed like very shortly after like I started actually training.
See, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. So I was like, okay, cool. So I'm just going to go to this school. So I just walked in. I was like, here's a year's worth of tuition. And that was it. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, this girl's going to quit in 3 days. Right. And then here we are.
Hey. Here we are with the 2021 Pro Wrestling Champion belt under her, under her belt. Yeah. And like when you started going to that school and learning about wrestling, like were they... And I don't know how to put this because, like I said, I'm not like wrestling term wise, but like, were they female friendly? Was it like a open layout, or is it?
So it's female friendly, but I was the only girl for like 6 years.
What?
Oh yeah.
So you would say within this industry, like women are a little bit underrepresented?
Yes, but I don't think it's underrepresentation. It's just like they're not showing up, like they're not participating, I guess. Like right now we have a much larger influx of female students than I've ever seen, like ever. But literally, like the girls who have graduated from our school, and I count graduating as like you've had a match, because I don't ever really stop training. Like I still actively go as a student 10 years later.
I love that. Always learning.
Yeah, you can always learn no matter what.
Yeah.
But girls who have like actually made it onto a show and had a match since I started training, I think is about 5. But so the first one, I don't know if you're familiar with Sasha Banks.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so Sasha Banks was one of the women who came from my school.
What?
That's
dope.
I started training probably 2 or 3 months right before she went to WWE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it was me.
Yep.
And then about 5-6 years later, a girl by the name of Ava Everett, who's my best friend in the world. She was the next one, and it was like just such a huge gap. It was just me for a really, really long time.
Wow, so that's crazy.
Yeah, but they treated me. I mean, they treated me like one of the guys. Like I didn't get special treatment because I was a girl. I probably got treated worse.
They're like, we need to make her a little bit tougher.
Yeah, they were like, we have really high expectations, because the expectation of women's wrestling was just was bad.
Right.
Like it was really bad.
Yeah.
It's just like you train for a couple weeks and then you can be put in a show because there's no women.
Female wrestlers. And do you feel like because like it's a mostly male dominated sport and audience, that having like a female wrestler brings more like attention to the shows, or just like it incorporates more of a like dynamic between characters?
It like the way it used to be viewed was that it's like, okay, here's the special attraction match.
Like, I mean, per usual, in the United States, women are put on a pedestal.
Exactly. It's like, okay, here's the special attraction match. Just 2 girls. They're in crop tops and booty shorts and just let them go out there and roll around for 6 minutes. Pull hair, whatever. It's it's right after intermission, right before the main event.
Bring in some views.
Like, people are, it's like coming back from getting their popcorn. Put the girls out there for a little bit, you know, just let people look at some girls, and then they can watch like the main event of the men that's going to happen.
Exactly.
And I mean, and that's where I sat for 6 years, like for forever. Wrestling really wasn't super fun.
Right.
Because a lot of the girls I was wrestling to were like really bad. And I was just like,
and it's like you have so much talent. It's like I'm not even being able to show off what I can do.
Like my second match ever, my trainer was like, I know you think this girl's been wrestling for a while, but you have to carry her.
Right.
Like, you have to call the entire match.
Yeah.
And you have to get her through it. And I was like, this is my second match. And he's like, yeah, but you're already better.
That's
and I was
insane.
Like, what?
Wow.
Why?
But
like,
that's some real natural talent too, you know?
Yeah. So. But it was just like, he's like, you actually like come to class and you try. Which is like, the problem is that the girls, we would train for a little bit, they'd get on a show and they'd never come to class again. Because it's just like, oh, I'm on a show, I don't need to be good.
Exactly.
What
it's
I'm
like that
doing
15 minutes of fame or like whatever.
Yeah,
like,
what
I
I'm
got
doing
seen,
is fine.
okay.
It's like whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when like my second or third class, somebody said, oh, can Davi manage and like valet? It'd be like, you just walk out ringside with the person who's wrestling the match. And then you like cheer for them. You can have a spot, you interfere. Can she valet on this? They call them, they do these shows outside the Lowell Spinners baseball stadium.
Okay.
Just be like on the sidewalk just for the students to kind of get a match in front of a crowd, whatever. And like, oh, can she valet? And my trainer was like, absolutely not. And I was just like, I don't know why he's saying no. And all these years later, I found out like I was 2 weeks in. He didn't want me to go, oh, I'm 2 weeks in, I'm on a show. I'm not coming to class anymore. So that's why he was like, no, like she's not doing that. We're not playing this game. He treated me like I was like one of his male students. So
that's dope. That's dope. And that's how it should be. It should be equal, whatever, whether it's sports, art, or whatever you're doing between genders. It should just be equal, however it is.
Exactly.
But it also is based on, like you said, the work and the effort. Because I feel like even if he did put you in that show, I think you still would have continued to like put the work in just because of your nature.
Yeah,
you
that's
know
just
what I mean?
my
Your
personality.
passion.
But it was like, oh, I've only known this girl for 2 weeks. Like, and he's been in wrestling for so long. He's seen the pattern.
Right. Trust takes a long time to build too. It does. For sure.
It does. So it was just like, okay, I understand where he was coming from. And I also was a shy 18-year-old.
Right.
I didn't want to be in front of a crowd, you know? I didn't want to be in front of a crowd and Lowell, like not knowing what I'm doing.
Right.
Like after practicing for 2 weeks, I still hadn't even opened up to my classmates. Like never mind like a crowd of people.
Yeah.
So he really like, he protected me to make sure that I didn't like get an ego or like get too much too fast. So
and that's what you need, like mentors who are for you. You know what I mean? People that like you can trust around you who really like want to build you up as a character and as a person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to find.
Yeah,
so,
and don't get me wrong, we had our bumps.
Oh, of course, everybody does.
We had our bumps because like. He trained the way he was taught. Yeah. And sometimes for a girl, like we have feelings, you know.
Right,
like, I mean, men have feelings too, but you know.
We're a little more expressive with ourselves, right?
I'd be like, I hate you. Like, don't talk to me like that. And then we'd, you know, be in a fight or whatever.
Right.
And then I'm the type of person too, if you like try to push me into something I don't want to do, then I just shut down. So it was like, a couple years of me just being like, I'm not trying, and just being like a bad student, right, and
just defying. I feel like
exactly.
Like,
so now we're in a good place of like, I'm like glad you never gave up on me and just dealt with me being a menace of a student.
And thank God he did, because you came such a long way, such a far way, and so inspirational. Like for me to look at as a young woman, so I can only imagine like young women who are into wrestling. But I feel like from what we just said, like when you got into, you know, the wrestling game and training and even like chaotic wrestling to now, you've really defied gravity of like what it means to be a female wrestler. And, you know, I just, from your perspective, I'm curious, like, how do you feel like you change that like fine line of being like a background or like a little like performance, you know, before the main event to like being the main event, having a fan following, have people legit be like, you know, I think I've heard people say, what is it, like Davi land?
Yeah,
like you have your own fucking land, like your Disneyland. Like I'm like, okay, girl.
Yeah, it's still mind-boggling to me because like when the transition was happening, I didn't like realize it, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, like can people like me, whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always just been like my own worst critic too, so I'm like,
like talking my language.
Like I'm okay, but like there are people better than me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still have a lot to learn. Like I still feel like I'm on, you know, day 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And when it came to of like, okay, so you're no longer like the match before intermission or right after intermission, you're getting better spots in the card. And then it's like, okay, so now you're going to go into this like I went into this 2-year-long storyline with my tag team partner.
Okay.
He ended up turning on me. So in the grand scheme of things, I was in a tag team with another guy, and we became the Chaotic Wrestling Tag Team Champions, and like we're the first male-female team. So I was the first female to hold the title.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then we were like, all these plans were going to happen, just like, you know, a very like long title run, whatever, being a tag team. We were going to go to all these different promotions and just travel as a tag team. And then the pandemic happened and the world shut down.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Yo, every single guest, I swear, it always gets to that point where we're like,
it's just like, and then the world shut down. And there was no wrestling for months. And it was just, I got to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna wrestle anymore.
Oh
like
my God.
this
must have been devastating.
It was, and I was just like, I'm just not gonna wrestle anymore. So I his name is JT, and I sent him a text, and I was like, JT, like I'm not coming back if wrestling comes back. Like, thank you for everything that you've done for me, but it's just like it's not happening.
Yeah.
And then one of my very good friends, Anthony Green, he was getting signed to the WWE, and his fiance is my best friend too. So like the three of us are a little trio.
Yeah.
And he was getting signed to WWE and was like, hey, I need to like go train. Will you guys come with me to the school? And then I was like, no, like I'm quitting wrestling. And then like it got to the point where I was like training way more than I had in like years. And I was like, I quit wrestling. Why am I training so much? Like, what am I training for?
Right.
And then his fiance, Evie, and I decided we were going to have our last match together. Because during the pandemic, after things like kind of started to open up, there were a bunch of COVID protocols and stuff, but we would do closed studio tapings like just for YouTube or, there's this independent wrestling streaming service called IWTV. It's basically like Netflix for independent wrestling. Yeah. And we were just like,
look like MTV kind of?
Yeah.
Like, I think I saw it. Yeah.
And so they did these closed studio tapings. It was just like, just wrestlers in the crowd, no fans, whatever, everybody in masks. But they're like, we asked the promoter, we were like, we'll do this match, and then like, can we have our last match together on the second day? Yeah. And he was like, yes, but like, if you guys have fun doing the first match, this is what I want to do with you two, and have you guys not quit? And we were like, oh, well, we're quitting. And then the first day we did a tag team match, and we had so much fun. We were like,
you're like, damn.
So we're not we're not gonna quit, right? And just like, no, we're not gonna quit. Yeah. So I continued wrestling, and it was wild. And then you know the studio tapings kept going, and then like Chaotic Wrestling started doing them. Yep. And me and JT started teaming again, and then the story kind of changed, and it was like he wanted to be the bad guy, and I was like, no, like I don't want to do that. Yeah. And but I was like, I really want to wrestle him because he's an insanely talented wrestler, and I was like, I just want to have a singles match against you. Like we're in the point now where like there's no fans, so it was kind of just like the inmates running the asylum. Like I was just like, listen, I'm just trying to have matches with people that I can learn from and are better than me, and just have fun, because like there's no fans dictating really what we're doing. We're we're like forcing
you can make your own storylines now, just like take you on a different
what they're
path.
airing online, like it's already done. We're just forcing the fans to like what we're doing.
Right.
And then he was like, okay, well, like, I guess we'll separate, right? And I'll turn on you and blah, blah, blah. And like, okay, cool. Like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe we'll just have like one singles match and then we can start teaming again, whatever.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have that one.
Right.
And then it was just like.
And then another and another.
Like, the guy who was running Chaotic Wrestling, Chase Del Monte, was just like, shh. This is my storyline that's going to continue. And he sat me down and he was like, so we're going to start running live shows again with fans. And
when was this, would you say? Like in like late 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. So it'd be last July.
Yep.
We kind of like mapped out the storyline. Forget when we started doing like shows again. But at first it started with, okay, 50 people can come to the school.
Okay.
And they'll have to be in masks, whatever. And then we started running shows like that. But it was still kind of like a studio taping.
Yeah.
And then we could start going into the buildings we used to run.
Okay.
Gotcha. And then so it was like, okay, then JT's gonna win the title. And then this is going to be the storyline. And I was just like, okay. And then he's like, so then you're going to win. You're going to wrestle him again and you're going to lose. And it's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And then it was like, okay. And then we have another big show called the Chaotic Countdown. And the winner of the countdown gets to face for the heavyweight title.
Oh, okay. I got you. So it builds up to it like throughout the season and the fights.
I won the countdown and then I challenged JT at our big summer show called Summer Chaos.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, and then so you're gonna win the title. And I was like, what?
That's fun, girl.
I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Like, I had to like scratch and claw to be able to win the women's championship because it's just like, the women's championship was there, but it wasn't cared about at all.
Yeah. Like you almost had to build it kind of. Yeah. Like we're involved in the process of. Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, we have a women's title because we have like two women and it'd be the same two girls just passing the belt back and forth.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Forever.
Yep.
And then I was like, wait, like what? Like, I'm winning like the main and title.
Was that the first time that it's incorporated like both like female and males in the like big title, or a woman being able to take a title from a man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All
so it was the first story where a woman was like in the main event ever. And then I was the first woman to win that title.
Legendary. Shout out to you, girl. Making history up here in Massachusetts. You already know.
So like, and I just like, I remember sitting backstage and like watching these guys main event these shows and like the amount of people that I've trained with that have gone on to sign to WWE and like be on weekly television programming, like then I'm in their spot that they left, like main eventing these shows. And it's just like,
crazy.
Like I used to have a 5-minute match. Like 5 minutes, that's it, you're done. Like no story, no promos, no nothing behind it. And then it's like, oh no, you're on the poster, you're like the actual marquee for people to buy tickets to these events. Amazing. It's just like,
it's like unreal almost.
It is.
And like I have to ask you, like for people listening in and like for myself, it's like I look at you and I'm like, wow, like that is like literally you made your own mark in history. Like nobody's done that before. If someone does it after, like you've already set that footprint. What kept you going to do it? Like I know you said like there was mentors and stuff, people who pushed you forward, but like through like you, like there has to be a sliver of the self-motivation or something within you that just like kept that focus.
I would say my first few years was just because I'm stubborn. And like when I
that honesty.
No, literally when I first signed up, they were like, oh, how many days until the girl quits? Like, and so I was
take
like,
it as a challenge.
Yeah, I was like, screw you. Like, I'm not quitting just because you're making bets on when I'm gonna quit.
Bags.
And then like I was like really enjoying myself, and it was just like my life is so entwined with wrestling.
Yeah.
And then when times got hard, that's like when Evie started to train, and it kind of gave me somebody. I was just like, oh my God, like this is like the person I've been missing, of another girl who's going to go through the same stuff that I went through. And she was like, I don't know, we were just yin and yang, like
motivational
my other half.
competition kind of,
but not even like competition. It was just like, she was just like, oh my God, you're so amazing.
Yeah.
And it was like another girl who cared.
Right.
So it was just like, oh my God, she cares. She's busting her ass at the school. Yeah. Like, I want to have these incredible matches with her. I want to do this stuff. Yeah. And like, neither of us are like incredibly athletic, but like she's very, very creative. And then I can like fix her ideas to how it makes sense in a match. Right. And we just had this insane chemistry when we were wrestling.
Like cross-inspirational.
Exactly.
Of each other.
And we were just like, we could just feed off of each other. Right. And we just became such good friends. It's just like, if I can be in a car with this girl for 6 hours and we can talk the whole time, it's just like, okay, yeah, I found like my wrestling person.
Facts.
And like, she just cared so much. So it was just like so nice to like have another female who isn't just like, yeah, whatever, like I don't care. So it's just like actually goes and trains and tries. Right. It's just like, okay, I have this one. And then when things like kind of started to shift for me, I was just like just enjoying myself wrestling. Like, I was just like, I don't really like care anymore about negativity or what people say about me or whatever. I'm just gonna go out there and just gonna have fun and be me.
That's fire.
And that's when I stopped trying to let people put me in like the box that they thought for me, is when I kind of just started to get successful. And I was just like, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna have these matches. And like, a lot of it was also too from like wrestling men. I was like, I'm not just going to pigeonhole myself because of my gender to only wrestle females. Like there's not a lot in the area.
Right.
I've wrestled them all.
Right.
All these guys are really talented. I'm as talented as they are. Why can't I fight them?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay. And they wanted to wrestle me too.
Right.
So,
right. And that's the best thing about like art, sports, anything. And like anybody listening in who's trying to do something different, you know, Davienne wouldn't have gotten there without having to step outside of the box, make herself uncomfortable, try something new. You know what I'm saying? Like literally when we're saying create a blueprint, create a path, like there are things that have not been done before. And you just have to step out of that zone to be like, I can do this. Like, and nobody can tell you otherwise. Yourself is your worst critic. You're your own worst enemy. You can convince yourself to do something or not do it. But it's like, look at how far you can go if you just give it a little bit of effort, a little bit of time, energy.
Exactly.
And hard work. I'm sure it took a lot of fucking time out of your life, like to get to the point where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like with wrestling too, there are other people behind the scenes like making decisions for me, right? Like there are...
Can I ask you like... Oh, yeah. For anyone listening who doesn't understand, and like even myself, because I'm not, like I said, very knowledge on this, when you talk about the storylines and you guys creating like, oh, he's gonna win the title, then I'm gonna win the title, and like this and that, and like there's always been like a lot of talk about like growing up, like there's a huge performance aspect to wrestling, and like you literally are kind of like an actor.
Yes.
While being athletic and putting the sport and all the like everything together.
Yeah. It's live theater, basically. Like we have a script. Yeah. We have a set amount of minutes that we're supposed to go. We know who our referee is, who's gonna win. We know what we're supposed to do.
You plan all the moves beforehand, or is some of it like
like some of it is just like, okay, we're just gonna feel it and see how the crowd's going. Yeah. And then a lot of it is just like, okay, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then you'll do X, Y, and Z, and then hopefully they react this way. Yeah. And like that's like a lot of it is that yes, there is somebody behind the scenes deciding, okay, Davi's gonna win the title, but it's because people are buying tickets to see me. People are enjoying my matches. People enjoy how I perform. Yeah. So it's not like it's not deserved. Like,
exactly. You know, like, no, I get it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's not like just somebody made a decision for me to like win this match or me to be in this position. Yeah. But there's also other factors of why I'm there too. Like if I won the title and then 20 people showed up to a show, it'd be like, okay, this is a problem. Yeah. But like when the houses like are increasing, then it's like, okay, like we're doing something right. Like, or there's more views on YouTube or something. Or like I posted one clip from a match and it literally like went viral on Twitter.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, that brings a lot of eyes to the promotion. Definitely. And it's like, oh, okay. Like when I won the title, it was like articles and stuff were posted on like wrestling websites, and it's like chaotic wrestling is small in the grand scheme of independent wrestling. It's just a Massachusetts, New Hampshire promotion.
I was gonna ask that as well because I'm not familiar. Like, does every state have a wrestling company? Is this like
I mean, there are so many in the Northeast. Like there's so many in Mass. There's a lot in Rhode Island. New Hampshire, not so much, just because there's a commission and you have to be licensed. But like New York, there's a bunch. In New Jersey, there's a ton. Maine, there's some. So like chaotic wrestling is not huge. It's a more reputable independent promotion. But it's just like, you know, we usually have, you know, 250 fans in attendance, and it's just like then like I won the title and there are, you know, 700 likes on Twitter and all these retweets and stuff.
Well, I was
and
gonna say like, on social media, like it's very well known. Like
and on
lots
social
of
media,
wrestling
it was
fans
like
are
a very
in.
Big deal, which I didn't even expect too, is especially like chaotic is not live streamed, and a lot of promotions they're live streamed, so like you get that instant feedback from the fans. But just like one photo went up and it was like the amount of texts, call, like all this stuff of just like, oh my God, like look what she did. She literally made history. Like
it's amazing.
It's wild. It's wild because like so many men that have gone on to do like incredible things in wrestling, like win titles in WWE, be on WrestleMania, held that title, and then like I won it too.
It's just like that's amazing. I have to give you your flowers. Like that is like unbelievable. And you know, and also like when you think about like WWE or like WrestleMania and like a lot of the big stars, like you said, like John Cena, you watch growing up, like, and we're talking about the storylines and like the characters, and it's like it really does. You do attach to who they are as a person, what they're doing, like the certain like moves that they have, or certain costumes, or certain like characteristics, like when you come out, that people kind of fall in love with that part of you as well as the sport. You know what I mean? So it's like dope because you got to show, you kind of combine the feminine aspects and masculine aspects of like wrestling and just like a character. Like when I just gotta shout you out because I was watching your videos, but like people, when you come in, like they give you money. Like, yo, like I'm like, I gotta change my intro. Like she walks in and people just be handing her ones. I'm like, yo, where's my ones? Like
exactly.
Actually, what's your merch, yo? It says arrive, collect money, and leave. You feel me? Like where did that come from within your character?
So it's really funny because
like you're a G.
Like and people ask me this all the time, like, where did this come from? Like, how did you come up with it? I didn't. This was not a me invention.
I appreciate you saying that.
No, it's totally not me. It was the fans.
Okay,
it was absolutely them. And
so the fans build in with the storyline too.
Yeah, they do. Like the fans are so integral in wrestling that like when there were no fans, it was weird. Like it was horrible. Like I did a match that was like literally no fans, none in the building, and it was with this girl who was like, it was maybe her 5th match or something, and it was a title match. We were supposed to go like 15 minutes, and I was like trying to communicate with her in the ring and like not have it pick up on camera. And then it's like every single, like we feed off the crowd, so if like, you know, she hits me or whatever and I kick out at 2 and I'm like you know, trying to get that crowd behind me to cheer so I can get back up. It was like I'm like going like this and it's like there's no noise.
Nobody's cheering. Weird.
Like, this is horrible. And like at one point in the match, she like kicked me in the head. You could hear like and I was like, yo, that's disgusting.
That is
like
so crazy.
It was so bad.
But it's moments like that where it's like it makes the moments where it's like a full audience and you're like kicking ass in the ring that makes it that much better. You know what I mean?
It really does.
Yeah.
Like,
because you're like, I know what it feels like to have an empty crowd and like be at a low, so you can appreciate the high.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the money thing, Chaotic Wrestling does a show every year called Cold Fury, and that's like their WrestleMania.
Yep.
And I was doing this character because they didn't really have any spots on the show for me, but they're like, you could be a valet in this group, and I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm on the show, and I was like it was like a secretary kind of
like role.
Character. So I wore like a white pencil skirt and a white suit jacket and glasses.
Oh my gosh.
And I walked out, and this guy.
Do you have video of that? Like, you gotta send me some if you do. Okay, I gotta see that.
And this guy like left $2 out on the barricade, and so I walked over and I took it. Like, of course I did. And
yep. My type of girl.
So like the same guy would just like leave $2, whatever. And then there's a period of time, like 1 or 2 years, where I didn't wrestle for Chaotic Wrestling.
Okay.
And the fans were like, oh, where's Davi? And they would post, like, they had like hundreds on the barricade, and they'd post it and they'd tag me and be like, oh, too bad you weren't on the show tonight. We had all this money for you.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I was a bad guy. So it was like and then it'd be like,
so it was a joke.
Like fake.
Yeah. Okay.
Or if I was at the show, I like came for a one-off, whatever, they'd give me like fake money.
Okay.
And then I came back like in a full capacity, and I like was wrestling guys.
Yeah.
And I came back as a baby face, as like the good guy.
Yeah.
And
the baby face. I like
and
that.
then so the fans just started giving me money, and then like the other fans started to catch on. They're like, oh, we really like this girl, so it's like $1 or $2, and they just give it to me.
Yo, like, oh my God,
it's
I'm
wild.
telling you, if you watch her videos, guys, you gotta tune in and watch her videos. It's like you're in the strip club. Like, I know. Like, she legit walks in, people are like waiting to hand her dollars. I said to my producer, I was like, yo, Slam, do you have any ones? I was like, because if you do, I'm gonna start the show and be like, yo, just so we start this properly, here's some ones for you, girl.
I would have died. But, like, man. It's hysterical. It's like a joke at this point. And I'm like, I wear like a very conservative gear.
You do. Like, and sorry, I didn't mean to compare it to a stripper. Like, joking wise, because like but that's what, you are very classy with your attire.
That's what people say. It's like, oh, like you're a stripper, and I'm like, I know, and I'm one of the girls on the show who's wearing like the most amount of clothes.
That's why it's even more badass, because you're defying
the men
norm.
too. Like the men are wearing less than me.
They're literally in like
they're literally in their undies. Like they're in their undies, and I walk out like. You can't really see like
nothing.
My husband wrestles, and he's like, I want your gear to like, show
your husband wrestle. You guys are like dynamic duo. Damn, we should have gone on with you. That's crazy.
He's so asleep.
Damn. Jealous.
But like, he's like, oh, I wish your gear, like, it would show a little bit more cleavage, a little more butt, like, I just like to
I feel like this is the most promiscuous thing I've seen you wear, like,
and I'm like, no, it's fine, because, I mean, like, you don't want a boob to pop out or something,
you gotta be careful, you don't want to pull a J-Lo,
okay, like, sometimes, like, I'll show a little cheek, whatever, but compared to 90% of female wrestlers who are like in like amazing shape and everything, like they wear like a 2-piece and it shows off their body. And I'm like, no, they just give me money just because they like me.
Like, shit.
Like, there's this one little girl who's, oh my god, she's so cute. At
she
every
like your
show.
number one fan, super fan.
Yeah, she's like a super fan.
She's gonna be the next
always there, like at the ramp, and her mom is like, I have to take her to the bank before every show and make sure we have $1 for you.
Oh,
and it's like,
my God,
it's so cute.
That is adorable.
And it's like, she just like, it's like a memorable moment for her. Like, this girl comes out and I get to hand her.
Affecting her childhood.
Yeah,
she's going to see a female wrestler. Yeah.
And she's like, and then I could do that. And it's like,
crazy.
That's so cool.
Like, you're already inspiring people, girl. Like, shout out to you, for real. And like, also another one of your merch that you have, like, it's a Powerpuff Girl shirt. Like, I just love how you combine the aspects, because like, you're such like a badass bitch, where it's like you're fighting with guys and you're like, I guess I hate saying masculine and feminine, but it's the only way to like correlate it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you do have this like different version of yourself, and we kind of talked about this off air, but like, I feel like you have kind of multiple personalities, because like you're you when you wrestle, and then like you're you right now talking to me, and then I feel like there's also like a social media promotional you. Do you feel like each one of those has like a true like Davienne in it?
Yeah, for sure. Like, because the part I struggled with wrestling when I started was like, they're like, oh, like be like, I don't know, like this like darker, like heavy metal character, like that's what you kind of look like. And I'm like,
so they were trying to characterize you by your image,
yeah,
like physically.
And I was just like, it's just like it's not really me. Yeah. Like I don't, but when I started wrestling, there was like 2 types of girls. You were either the diva that's like hot, or you were like the dark, scary character that people were going to be afraid of.
Isn't it crazy how we literally can label women into those 2 boxes? 2 boxes. Like
it was 2
there's
boxes.
Nothing in between.
There was no in betweens at all. And I was just kind of like, ugh, like, but I like glitter. I like kind of cute clothes.
Yeah,
like,
well,
even
I was gonna say on social media, you're kind of a girly girl.
Yeah,
like you're like, you know, like even like you're cute.
Yeah,
like, you know,
I'm just like, yeah, I like to get my eyelashes done.
Yeah,
yes. Sometimes I like to be like sporty and wear leggings and have my hair up.
I seen you on a boat in a 2-piece. I was like, go get it, girl. Okay, like yes.
So I was just like, you know, like I just had to find my own way. And like my fashion too is like very basic. So that's why I struggled with like my gear for so long, because I was just like, I like very simple clothes, but wrestling is over the top. So I ended up finding a couple gear designers, and I was just like, hey, like this is kind of what I want. I like mesh, I like studs, I like rhinestones, I like glitter. And they just kind of helped me evolve into like what I wear now. And when I started getting like really nice gear, that's when people also started paying attention. Like, okay, this is now
she
like,
looks the part,
looking apart. Like that you're a performer. You're not just out there and just like basic whatever. And not everybody has to wear something like over the top, but it kind of just helped me because I'm more quiet and shy. And I don't have like this giant character. That like I can just be me and be more expressive through my outfit. I like a lot of glitter. I literally put on my eyeshadow like whatever colors are in my gear. I have a glitter
like
and
palette.
It's literally like I have a glue and I have glitter and it goes on my eye and like sometimes it's like green and orange, sometimes it's like red or something, and I put like one of my gears is based off of like the American flag. So I literally put red, white, and blue in bright glitter on my eyes. And it's just like, okay, cool. Like this is another part of my expression that I don't necessarily have to be like, I don't know, like the Undertaker or something. It's like, this is just my personality.
And it's a good mix because like you didn't let them sexualize you. You know what I'm saying? Like you weren't like, oh, okay, I'm going to show more of this or do more. Like I feel like you really incorporated your style in a classy way, in however you feel. Like but it really shows like who you are as a person.
And I was just like, okay, let me just like be myself. And when you're being yourself or like something that's true to you, that's when the people connect to you. And instead of trying to be like forcing yourself into the box that like, you know, it doesn't fit. And I felt like for a long time I was just like going out there and like trying to be an actor. And it was just like people don't connect with it. And then I was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna be genuine. They were like, hell yeah, like let's get behind it.
See, like, oh my god, you're gonna get me going. Like everybody listening in, this is the exact reason that we do things like this, because you would never know behind the scenes like what she went through to get to where she is today, to fight these like doubts and people trying to label her and put you in a box. It's like no matter what work or what form of art that you do or what type of entrepreneur you are, people are always going to try to label you. They're always going to try to make you something different. But having originality, sticking with your own thought process and what you want to do, that is key. That is most important. Like, don't let anybody change you and make you something that you're not just so you can fit into that, because you will never enjoy it as much as if you're original. You know what I mean? And like you said earlier, like when you were wrestling and you were going to quit, you were like, oh, I'll do this last one. And it was so fun. And the key word right there is it was so fun. She enjoyed it so much that you wanted to keep going. It wasn't like, oh, I'm getting paid this much money or I'm doing this or I'm doing, like, no, she actually genuinely enjoyed what she was doing. And people see when you enjoy what you're doing. And that's what people love. You know what I'm saying? If you're just worrying about if people like you or this or that, you're putting this out, how many likes you're going to get. And this is advice to me and everyone listening in, because we still struggle with it. It's not like it's an overnight thing, you know, like especially being a woman, because we're really hard on ourselves, you know, so it is a back and forth. But like when you get to that point where you can be good with yourself and secure with who you are and just like build a path off that, like old soul, young world, I'm a fucking weirdo. I'm a weirdo. That's why I started the show, because nobody could ever relate with me because I was young and I felt old and nobody like mentally related. When you were young, you wanted to do wrestling. There was probably girls around you like, oh, let's play with dolls. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's like, that's not where you were at, you know, and you latched onto that. So just again, shout out.
That's fun.
Thank
you. You know, and super dope fight that you had recently. Also, I think, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not super huge with her name, but Layla Hirsch, I think is her name.
Yep.
You guys had like a dope fight recently, and I just want to shout out because I watched the video and like she was calling you out. She was like, Davienne's here and she doesn't even want to fight me, like blah blah, like some like I don't know, like calling you out just being fake, and you were like, nah, I don't even need to. I don't know. You were like playing your like cool self. Yo, she jumped out of the ring like a spider monkey at you, and she just like I was like, holy shit! Like I thought that shit was like real. I was like, did you know she was gonna jump out of the ring?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, damn, that shit looked like for real.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah, I love that match because that show, I did 2 matches back to back. So like I had just wrestled this girl, Little Mean Kathleen, and then I beat her up after the match.
Little Mean Kathleen.
Little Mean Kathleen.
I like that.
So I was being mean, and I was being bad. So I like beat up Kathleen, and then Layla came out to make the save. And then she's like on the microphone in the video starting like calling me out, and oh my gosh, it was I was so ratchet. Oh my god.
Oh, it was so funny.
So I usually have eyelash extensions, but they had like fallen off. So I put fake eyelashes on.
Did you rip them off?
I ripped them off.
Yo, this girl, she just
I literally just ripped off my eyelashes. I'm ready. My boots had come untied, and I was like, keep talking, I'm gonna tie my boots. And then I was like, oh, she's about to dive on me. And then then like I was just really just trying to catch my breath, and I was trying to remember the second match.
Yeah, I bet.
But I was just let me take these lashes off. I'm so gross.
And I know you have some big events coming up this month and maybe some throughout the summer, but you do have big one July 20th in Rhode Island, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
And then one on the 29th.
Yes.
Do you want to let us know a little bit about
that?
Yeah,
absolutely. So the camera, one of the camera guys, his name is Frankie. He's incredible. He's very, very talented. Cameraman, film editor, like he makes these hype videos for me that are like
Frankie.
We love Frankie, strong style Frankie. He's absolutely amazing. He was an integral part of like the 2-year storyline between me and JT. And he made like these incredible hype videos for us, and it was so cool. He started running his own show.
What?
So he did his first show on my birthday.
Okay.
And so I was like, I was not honest. It's my birthday.
Yeah. Like I need a day off, at least one day off.
And now he's running his second show, and he's one of the first people to actually let like me and my husband work together.
Oh
so,
my god!
Yeah,
so
it's really exciting. That he'll be my manager for the match. I have a fatal 4-way match. But like we're gonna
fatal four-way.
So it's just like 4 people in the ring, and we all fight at the same time, and then whoever gets the first pin wins.
Damn. Okay.
But my husband Gall will be ringside with me. It was just awesome. It was super exciting. And then on June, we're in July 29th, we have the annual Chaotic Countdown, which last year I won.
Yes.
And this year, I have a match against Alec Price, who I adore. He's fantastic, and he is killing it right now in wrestling. Like he's amazing, but he's coming for my title, so I have to beat him, and
he's got to back off. Then, as much as we love him, like get out of here.
He's really talented. I'm very excited for the match. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I'll have to look out for who wins the countdown, because they're going to be challenging me next.
Ooh,
so yeah.
So are you going to keep that title or what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You already know.
Alec is killing it, but it's my title.
Yeah.
It's mine.
Can't step into Davi land though, you know? Not without a ticket, you feel me?
Absolutely not.
But you know, I do have one more question I want to ask you, and I ask all the guests that come on my show. And you know, however you can relate to it, I'm just wondering through your perspective, you know, growing up, you know, like you said, kind of off the norm, you know, off the grid, a little bit different, into different things. As a female, you know, claiming your title, claiming the championship, getting into something so young. What does it kind of mean to you to be an old soul in a young world, or just like an old soul?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely relate to being an old soul. I've always just kind of been like a grandma, honestly. I like to stay in. I don't like people or clubbing or going to the bar or anything. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm an old crotchety woman.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
that's me.
Like literally, like,
nobody gets it.
Yeah, go away. I just like want to be home. Gosh. And I've always been that way too. It's not even just because like I'm very busy. Like I just like.
You almost just spit my drink out. Picture you like 6 years old in a bath like robe, like literally. With a book and like a cup of tea. Like
that's me. So I guess you know, I feel like when people when they connect to whatever they love, you have to run with it, because the world is the world. It's wild, but as we don't get a lot of time here, so just connect with what you love and do it. Like, you have a short amount of time to be on the planet, so enjoy every second you can, you know?
That's fire.
We love that. That's so facts. It's so true. Like, we only have one life to live, really. You know, there might be many lives after this one, but physically right here, right now, if you're in the present, you need to make it worth it. You need to use what you have, your talents, your gifts. If you're a different type of soul, if you're young and you have a different type of, you know, something you're interested in, that's all that matters. Like I said before, nobody around you can change your destiny except you, you know? And off that, there's a lot of young women and men who, you know, tune into the show and could be into WWE, could be into wrestling, and everything that you're into. Do you have any like motivational tips, or just like through your experience of how you kept going, or how they, you know, could kind of get into doing something similar?
Yeah. I mean, I just think you have to do what makes you happy, what feeds your soul. You have to. Like, I had this conversation with my sister's boyfriend. Like, he was in school and he really liked numbers, and he was like, I want to be an accountant. Who dreams about being an accountant? Like, not a lot of people, but if that's your dream, do
that shit. Yeah.
Like, just because, like, yes, I do. I have a 9-to-5 job to help support, you know.
Thank you for sharing
my hobby, basically, that I've been doing for 10 years. But
full-time hobby.
Like, my full-time hobby. But like, I do, like, if I wasn't kind of like bougie and like, you know, being able to have like a new car and an apartment that I like and a wedding that I, you know, want to pay for, I could technically live off of what I make in wrestling. It would just be hard.
Yeah. Right.
I like to have more of a cushy lifestyle. And
and that's fine.
You know, be able to take a vacation, whatever. But I have a 9-to-5 to support my hobby, but like, it's not what I want out of my life, and I'm going to continue to keep grinding at what I want out of my life. Yes. And it doesn't matter when you figure it out. Like, it really doesn't. I was 11 when I figured it out, but my sister's in her 30s and she still hasn't figured it out, but she'll find it, you know, like you'll find it no matter what. So as long as you're finding something every day to have at least one positive aspect, or if you found it and like nobody else supports you, it doesn't matter. Just as long as it's, you know, legal or something, if you're not harming anybody else in the process. Like, do what makes you happy, do what feeds your soul and feeds your passion, and honestly, just try new things until you find it if you haven't. Like, if something is interesting you, go for it. Like,
that's the only way you know what works and what doesn't.
Exactly.
So, shout out to you. Hey. And you know, future goals for wrestling for you.
I want to make wrestling my full-time job.
Yes.
I don't really care where I work per se. WWE right now is probably off the table. I just turned 28 and they're not looking to hire anybody over the age of 25. So like,
really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
It's very weird with them right now. Okay. My husband's 20. He wants to get signed there. I want to get signed elsewhere. Okay. So it's like, okay, but we're just going to grind together. Yeah. Until somebody achieves their goal, right?
Yo, who knows?
And hopefully both. Like,
what if it's like a tag team duo, new like gender WWE couples? Like, who knows?
You never know.
You never know.
I mean, I couldn't have guessed anything that has happened in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to keep going with it and keep plugging away.
We love that.
And hopefully I get to sign on a piece of paper somewhere soon.
Hey! And until then, guys, make sure you stay tuned with Davienne and everything that she's doing, on social media with wrestling, with everything outside of wrestling. Just her being an awesome person, a great soul, super dope female. Can you just plug in your social medias, your website, wherever people can check you out,
absolutely.
Girl?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Davienne __. And then if you look at Pro Wrestling Tees, there's a Davienne store. And then I do also have like a Big Cartel. I think it's davienne.bigcartel.com. So that's where, and on also you can like just DM me if you want merch or something, and I usually answer. I've been pretty bad with my schedule.
Hey, you're busy. You're not bad. You're busy. This girl's up till 4 a.m. and she's here doing the podcast with me at 1 the next day. So
So, but I will eventually answer unless it's just like hi and then I ignore it. But if you say more than hi, I'll answer.
Well, that's dope. Thank you so much, Davienne, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was amazing talking to you, hearing, just a little more into what goes into wrestling, what incorporates like being a female in this industry, and just defining your own self, making your own lane and hitting those, those goals, making history, because you really made a trademark in Massachusetts for females. So to me, that's huge.
Thank you.
And everybody listening in, make sure you go check her out on all social media. Check out Chaotic Wrestling, everything that they're doing, all the events that they have coming up. Live wrestling is back and you don't want to miss it. I missed out for a long time not knowing that Massachusetts had such an amazing platform. So make sure you follow Davienne on all platforms. Check her out and tune in with me again next week on Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jessie Ellie. Hey, cheers!
Cheers, thank you.
That's a wrap.